Monday. My sister, Lizzie, died today. Wow. What a weird thing to say, you know, because it's true. I mean, it's not like we didn't expect it. She's been missing for like months, and even before that, she was always in and out, running away. So Mom and I were always like, Lizzie's gone. Not that we said it to each other on a daily basis, or even said it at all, but it was always just there, hanging in the air. Lizzie's gone, ... As stated by the New York Times, over 30% of teenage girls in the U.S. admit they intentionally hurt themselves without the intention of suicide. In a quote by an anonymous author, "There is no greater pain than watching someone you love their drugs more than you." This was the case for Hannah as she slowly watched her sister Lizzie take away her life. Losing her mother in the process, she seemed to choose Lizzie over her all the time, causing Hannah to pick up the only thing that made sense to her, a blade. All Hannah wanted was to be remembered as her mother's girl, from the section titled "Things You Can't Tell Just by Looking at Her" by Megan Mostyn Brown. Lizzie's gone. Period. It's funny, you know, I didn't cry at all today, and I felt really bad because, well, you're supposed to cry when people die, but all I could think about all day is that if I were gonna jump off a bridge like her, I wouldn't do it in the middle of July. I would do it in November or the beginning of March, on one of those days where you wake up with a chill because it never really stops drizzling, and people would have to wonder, did she do it on purpose, or was the handrail too slick? And the bridge would be just a little bit too slippery, and the water really cold. But not today. Today was one of those days where it's like 98 degrees before noon, and all anyone can do is try to keep from sticking to the furniture. Mom hasn't said anything to me all day. She said thank you to the police officer who came by the house, and she mumbled Lizzie's name to the receptionist at the morgue. I didn't go in. I sat in a plastic chair and counted the number of tiles from my feet to the front desk. There were 72. Anyways, I'm glad I didn't go in, you know, with Mom to look at the body and stuff. Because when people drown, they get all blue and bloated. I'd like to think of her like that picture, the one of Ophelia. It's Ophelia floating on her back in this pond, and she's wearing a really beautiful dress with a crown of flowers on her head. That's how I'd like to think of her. There's gonna be a funeral, and who are we gonna invite? Because Mom and I didn't know Lizzie's friends. Mom pressed her for it, and they would fight, you know, screaming, yelling, breaking things, etc. Pretty soon, Lizzie just stopped coming home at all. Now that she's gone for good, it's like we can erase all the bad. Wow. It sounds like I'm glad she's dead. I guess it's just gonna be me and Mom at the funeral. Maybe her friends, wherever or whomever they are throwing a little something for her somewhere else. And one of them will get up to say a few things. I'd like to think that's true. I mean, someone somewhere has to have a few things to say about her. Tuesday. I've been thinking like a lot today. And it sucks because all I can think about is Lizzie. There was this article in the paper talking about lost youth and how sad it was that her life ended so soon, and what a statement it made on the demise of adolescence in our society. Then they give a suicide statistic and that's it. They didn't even talk to us. They left out everything. I mean, it's like they felt sorry for her without even really knowing what. I mean, she was a drug addict. There was this one night, right before she ran away for good, this car pulls up in front of the house and sort of just throws Lizzie onto the lawn, and her face is in the grass, and I don't know if she's, you know, so I flip her over. She's laughing, and her eyes, well, I can only see the white parts, I'm so afraid that Mom will see or that the neighbors will hear, so I try to bring her into the house to splash water on her face or something. I pinch my arm really hard because, well, I don't want to see, and it's a lot when you're 15. And I've started to hurt myself. Wednesday. The house is like suffocating quiet tonight, and I use a straight razor. I usually don't. I prefer the pink, big kind. Does the job, less damage. So I use a straight razor. And after, it's like fireworks and deep breaths and the good kind of weak knees all at once. Well, until I notice there's no point in being graphic. Suffice to say, there's a lot of blood, and no matter how much pressure I put, it won't stop. And I start to feel sort of faint. And I don't know how to stop it, and I don't want to call Mom, so I walk to the emergency room, which is good because they stitched me up. 10 stitches with the kind of thread that dissolves after the wound is all healed. But since I'm a minor, they won't let me go home. I have to sit in an office with this nurse, and she asked me if I've ever done anything like this before. Which is the stupidest question I've ever heard because, well, she can see the marks. So I say, yes, in this voice that doesn't even sound like me. And I don't want to look her in the eye, so I stare at the floor, which has the same tiling as the morgue. She asks for how long. I say 2 years. I ask her, can I please go home? I'm a good person. I get straight A's. I promise I won't do it again. Just please let me go home. I really, really want to go home. But she can't let me until my mom gets here. So I stare at my toes and try to make myself as small as possible so that this will all go away. Thursday. I wake up and Mom's not at work. She's at home planning for the funeral, and all the knives and my razor, you know, the one I used to shave my legs with, are missing. And for dinner, we have soup and salad, you know, things you don't have to cut. And I notice she keeps peeking at me, and it's not like I've stopped. I can't. I've just moved my activities to a new region. Here. And the only thing keeping me sane is this stupid fantasy I have where I push everything off the table. You know, like how they do it in movies when they're trying to make a point. And all the plates would come crashing down, and Mom would be in so much shock that I did such a horrible, violent thing. And I would strip down to my underwear and show her every single scar and mark and tell her what each one meant. I'd say, this is from the time that you yelled at me because Lizzie broke curfew for the 87th time. And this is when you missed my school play because you were too busy roaming the streets looking for her last night. And this are the last 6 months that she was gone. And these are from when we had to bail her out of jail. And this is from when I cleaned the whole house, scrubbed the floors, and you didn't even care because Lizzie stole a stupid stereo. And this is from when you left me at a conveyor belt full of food at the grocery store because you thought you saw her in the parking lot. And while all the normal families went home with their brown bags and loaded them into their station wagons to have normal family dinners, I was the mother who held your head in my lap. Because it wasn't her. I'm still here, Mom. I still exist. Thank you.